Hi friends, Dr. Christopher Hobbs. You've heard the saying, there's nothing so certain as death and taxes. Well, Benjamin Franklin said that, where it turns out we're in Concord, Massachusetts, and he traveled in this area. He was born in Boston. So it's very apropos that we're seeing a yew tree here, Y-E-W-U, Taxus brevifolia, or baccata. And it turns out that someone else, some other famous herbalist, said there's nothing so sure, I think it's Jim Duke, there's nothing so sure as death from Taxus. And Taxus, T-A-X-U-S, is the yew. So it's very toxic, and if you eat the bark or the root or anything like that, in fact, all you have to do, this looks like a little yew fruit. It looks like a fruit, but it's not really a fruit. It's an arrow, and it's basically a fleshy cone, and you can see the seeds inside here. So this is a fleshy cone, and it turns out that you can actually eat the fleshy cone. Oh, it's quite good. It's like a sweet persimmon, but the little seed, no. The little seed is full of paclitaxel, and it's an anti-cancer agent, but it's very, very toxic. In fact, it has been said that one seed is enough to kill a child, and 2 seeds might kill an adult, or at least make them very sick. So it's a fascinating story of the yew. Yew was considered a very magical tree. It was planted around churchyards. In fact, I saw a giant old one that was like almost 1,000 years old in a church up around where Ayers is in England, where the giant old stone circle was. There's a giant yew in the courtyard of the churchyard there, and so they were thought to be very magical. Now, you may know that the Taxol, T-A-X-O-L, is a famous anti-cancer drug that's used for breast cancer and other types of cancer because the compound kills fast-growing cells. So it is still widely used as an anti-cancer, as a chemotherapy agent. So the story goes that maybe 30, 40 years ago, when they first discovered the paclitaxel in yew trees, they harvested the bark and they were killing old growth yew trees. So that was not good. They got a lot of pushback for that, but they were producing Taxol. Maybe it was saving a lot of lives, but they got a lot of pushback for killing the old growth yew trees. Then they discovered that the leaves actually have a significant amount of paclitaxel in it. That was a little more sustainable. But then the most fascinating thing is that then they discovered that the leaves here have fungal endophytes. There's a complete fungal endophytic community inside the leaf, all this fungus inside the leaf. And it was actually the fungus that was producing the Taxol. Isn't that amazing? And so then they could culture the fungus in big vats, and they could produce paclitaxel, and they didn't have to cut the tree down anymore. But it is a very powerful anti-cancer agent to kill fast-growing cells. It also is very toxic, of course, so it's standard chemotherapy, but it's still being used. And there are many other stories about yew tree, and you can see some of those in the caption. So thanks for watching.